Hey everybody, Chronicles here, and I got another War Thunder video. In this video I want to show you a battle in the Norway event. That is one of the World War II Chronicle events we have currently going on. I will talk a little bit more about those events in a future video. But in the battle I want to show you in this video, I will fly the Spitfire Mark I, though I have a little bit of gladiator footage in the background at first. A quick overview over the event I'm going to play. It is basically the Norway map as we know it from the simulator battle queue, and for the planes in the event we got the Mark I Hurricanes and Spitfires, and Gladiator Mark IIs as fighters for the British side, and Swordfish torpedo bombers as well as Wellington and Blenheim bombers. And the Germans get Bf-109E1 and E3s and the Bf-110 as fighters, and for bombers Jo-87 and Jo-88s and the Heinkel 111H3. Though when I played this event I saw mostly fighters on both sides. The team sizes are equal in the event. I do think though that most of the British fighters in this event are hampered by their armament a bit. As I've mentioned in the past, the machine guns are very weak in the current iteration of the damage model and only effective at very short range in my opinion. Which is a problem for the Gladiator and the Hurricane, as they have trouble staying close enough to a 109 to get the kill. The Spitfire on the other hand is fast enough to stay closer for longer, though it's still slightly slower than a Bf-109E. Still, you usually need a lot of hits to down a plane with the 7.7mm machine guns, even if there are 8 of them. I tried the different belts for the machine guns to get a feeling for what might get me the best results with them, including the Tracer belt, which has a lot of incendiary rounds, hoping to counter the weak guns with a higher chance for fires, but I found that to be very unreliable. I hardly got the plane or fire with them, and had the best results in the end with the universal belt. Though I have to admit that's hard to say definitively, as there's of course always a bit of luck involved. Now a word or two on the Spitfire. The Spitfire Mark I is of course an iconic fighter from the earlier days of World War II, and I wanted to show you a simulator battle match in it since quite a while. Sadly, it had some flight model problems since a while as well, which prevented me from doing so. The Mark I as well as the Mark II Spitfires could not stall at all, and I usually don't make videos about planes that can't stall at all in this game, as this is the flight model problem that bothers me personally the most, and means you can get away with mistakes in your flying you should not be able to get away with. Thankfully, 1.45 introduced a lot of flight model fixes, and among them are the flight models for the Spitfire Mark I and Mark II. So the Spitfires finally stall, and I can bring you a game in them. One of the main selling points, other than its good speed for when it was introduced, is of course the great turn rate of the plane. It's a very good turn fighter. You have to be careful though. While the huge wings give the plane a very low wing loading and therefore a great turn time, the Spitfire is not a super lightweight fighter like the Zero for example, so while the plane can turn extremely tight, it will lose a lot of energy when doing so, something the more energy efficient Bf-109 can exploit easily. So let's hop right into a battle in the Spitfire. At the start of this match I simply went straight for the objective, but I went through the clouds and could not see much as I approached. But right after I got out of the clouds I could see a Bf-109 and I got behind him. It seems the Bf-109 does not notice my approach, so I can get slowly closer to him while he's looking for targets. And as I feel I'm close enough and got a good shot, I open fire, and I got a few good hits and the Bf-109 starts trailing smoke. Though I don't get a critical hit. As I want to follow the Bf-109 down, it seems though that he's losing control and entering a spin, so I pull out and don't follow him down. And it's good that I do so. As soon as I pull out and look around I can see a second Bf-109 coming in behind me to attack, and I have to take evasive action. I have of course the turn rate advantage, and I could simply evade by doing a flat turn, but as I said earlier, doing so would cost me a lot of speed, and any good Bf-109 pilot would simply go vertical when I go into a tight flat turn in front of him and come down for another attack when I am low on energy. So what I plan to do instead is go for a few barrel rolls and hope the Bf-109 will overshoot eventually. The Bf-109 rolls slightly better than the Spitfire, but in a wide barrel roll rate isn't as important. So after we roll around each other a bit, I get the upper hand and behind the Bf-109, and after that he does the sensible thing and tries to escape. I have enough energy to stick with him, but the distance is pretty far and I don't have the speed to get any closer. So I fire a few long-range bursts, hoping to do some damage and maybe get the BF-109 to do more drastic evasive maneuvers that would allow me to catch up to him. I do manage to score some hits relatively regularly, but as I've mentioned earlier, the 7.7mm machine guns are not very effective, and at this range you would need to be very lucky to do any damage at all. However, then the BF-109 does surprisingly start to turn, and I can get closer to it and get some hits at closer range. At first I thought he started doing that to evade my long-range fire, but in hindsight it is more likely that he wanted to give someone else the opportunity to catch up. I continue to chase the BF-109 a bit more, which uses its roll rate to present a harder target, and I get another hit or two, but suddenly I can hear a cannon burst behind me from a MGFF, and I have to break off and see who that is. As I look around I can see the smoking BF-109 I shot earlier behind me. I pull out of his line of fire hard to the left at first, and then change direction and barrel roll to the right, so I can slot in behind him if he turns after me. This way I can get in fire position and get the burst in on the 109, and the 109 enters a spin, and this time he's too low to pull out of it. Now I have to evade the other BF-109 though, which turned around and is coming in for an attack. So I roll to the left and turn into him, and I can evade at least most of his burst. Sadly, we are passing each other in opposite directions this time, so when I come around to go after him, he has a head start and is pretty far away. On top of that, my engine is getting too hot and I have to throttle back a bit to cool it down. So since there is no way I can catch the BF-109 in a chase like this, I instead pull up a bit and try to choose my flight path so that I am hopefully between him and his airfield and climb a little bit. That is what I usually do if I chase a plane that is faster than me and I expect it wants to go to the airfield or another point I can predict. The idea being that he has to change course eventually, and when he does I can try to go for an intercept. I do think about just going back to the objective, but I expect the BF-109 to come around and go on the offensive if I break off the chase too early, so I decide to chase a little bit longer to make sure at least that he goes to the airfield. Eventually the BF-109 turns around and comes straight at me, and passes me. And as I turn around to go after him, he pulls up a little bit and ends up a bit in front and above me, doing a slight turn. I decide to match his flight path below him. I don't want to waste energy trying to get the nose up on him yet. And it seems the 109 wants to come around to attack from above, but pulls a little bit too hard. Maybe I did a little bit of damage to his wings after all, and he starts the plane. So he dives past me in front of me and makes a run for it. I'm now a little bit closer again, so I fire another burst or two after him, hoping I maybe do a little bit of damage. But even though I am closer, I'm not close enough to do much with the Spitfire's machine guns. The 109 this time really just goes for the airfield, and I don't want to follow him there and deal with the AA. It might be possible to attack the BF-109 when he lands, but I don't want to risk that, especially not with guns this unreliable. So I start to make my way back to my own base to get some more ammo and fuel. As I arrive back at the island where our airfield is located now though, I can spot a few planes and AA fire from there. It seems there's a fight going on. With AA coming from so many different sources though, the friendly as well as the enemy fleet, it is often hard to tell if they shoot friendly planes, enemy planes or each other, and it's hard to get the picture of what's going on. So I circle the area a bit looking for enemy planes. At first on lower altitude, but then after a while I can see AA that is definitely friendly fire past me and straight up, marking the position of at least 2 enemy planes above me. So I start a wide spiral climb to get up to that altitude of the suspected enemy fighters. And eventually, after I circle the area once or twice and climbed a bit to higher altitude, I can see a BF-109 behind me on slightly higher altitude. I turn towards him, but then I see that he's flying my way, and I change direction again to match his flight path. I want to stay below him and maybe sneak up on him if he hasn't seen me, but with all the AA fire the situation is a bit confusing and I lose sight of him for a second. After looking a bit I can see him again behind me. So I come around in another barrel roll to slot in behind the BF-109. Now I don't know if he has seen me yet, but I guess at this point he probably has lost sight of me as I did a moment earlier, and he is turning pretty tight, which gives me an opportunity to get closer, and after he pulls up I get an opportunity to fire a burst into him. I get a few hits, but nothing major it seems. We are pretty slow though, and I can't keep the nose pointed up any longer, so I'll push it down a bit to regain some speed. The 109 is still on slightly higher altitude than me, but he rolls around in the reverse direction in a split S and comes around past me. I roll around as well and go after him, and as the Bf-109 pulls up I can get behind him and fire another burst. And this time the machine guns don't let me down, and I manage to knock out the pilot. Now, I lost a lot of speed in this short climb and I have to get the nose back down to regain it. Also, I want to get below the clouds again to look if there are more enemy planes nearby. I also want to throttle back a bit and speed up to cool down the engine. Now, after I break out of the clouds, I can see a friendly Spitfire to my right and another smoking plane a little bit lower. I fly that direction because I want to know what the smoker is, but as I pass the Spitfire, another 109 shoots by at high speeds from below, and it seems he wants to go after the friendly Spitfire, and I turn to get after it. A second friendly Spitfire in the area has the same idea, and we almost collide going after the Bf-109. Now, the other Spitfire is faster than me, and therefore closer to the enemy, and it seems the first Spitfire managed to evade the 109 just fine, so there is no reason for me to charge after the Bf-109 myself. It would only increase the risk of a real collision, and I'm also very low on ammo and could most likely not damage the 109 anyway. So instead I decide to fly top cover for the Spitfires as they deal with the Bf-109, in case there are more enemy fighters in the area that come to help the Bf-109. In that case I may have enough ammo to at least scare one off the tail of a friendly. And after a short while the Bf-109 goes down over the island. Now, since I'm almost out of ammo and fuel is getting somewhat low as well, I want to rearm as fast as possible. I'm still not 100% sure if there are no more enemies around though. There's still a bit of AA fire, and with the enemy and friendly fleets this close, it's hard to tell if it's only the enemy AA firing on us, or if there's friendly AA still firing on an enemy plane. But it looks like it's only enemy AA and no more planes are close to us, and there are of course the other two Spitfires that can provide cover while I rearm. So I land to get some more ammo and fuel. At this point we are 3 Spitfires left, as well as a single Swordfish versus a similar amount of enemy planes. As I am rearming, the Swordfish is going back to attack the enemy fleet, which is a victory condition on this map, and one of the Spitfires seems to cover the Swordfish. Sadly, the ship's AA, which is very strong on this map, gets them both, as well as one of the enemy planes a little bit later. That leaves me and the second Spitfire versus about 3 enemy planes. Now, after rearming and taking back off, I at first patrol between the fleets a bit, and then decide to go towards the enemy airfield to look for planes in that direction. But just as I am about to do so, I can spot friendly AA firing on a plane over the water, so I turn around to go check what that is. As I close in on the plane in question, I can see that it is indeed another Bf-109, and I fly towards it to get behind it. And as I do so, I notice that he is closing in on the Spitfire, which in turn has found a second 109 and is chasing it. Now, I'm still a bit far away, and you can't control the aircraft when opening the dock menu, so I try to fire at long range between the two, a shot across the bow of the 109 so to speak, and I hope it makes him take evasive action and gets him off the Spitfire. But either he did not see my burst, or he ignored it, and he keeps going after the Spitfire. That, however, at least gives me the opportunity to close into fire range, and as the Spitfire maneuvers out of the 109's line of fire, I close in to attack. Now the 109 goes evasive, but now I'm also close enough to get good hits on him, and eventually when he pulls up I get the critical and the Bf-109 goes into a spin. I don't have time to check if he's going down, as I expect the other 109 is coming in to attack, and indeed he does, so I roll around and turn into him to evade his fire. And the Spitfire is behind him and shooting him up. Now here I make a big mistake though. I can see that the 109 is popping smoke, a sign that he expects help, and I do check behind me to see if there's another enemy plane, but I can't see one. And for some reason I at this time think that the 109 is the last plane on the enemy team. So I concentrate on watching the Spitfire finish off the Bf-109. However, the 109 is not the last plane on the enemy team, and suddenly I have another plane behind me. I try to get out of his line of fire, but I don't manage it in time, and I go down. Now, that was a very unnecessary mistake. I should not have focused on the 109 like that, but instead pulled up and covered the Spitfire from above. That almost cost us the game. Now, the Spitfire got the BF-109 and then went after the BF-110. But the 110's tail gunner shot the Spitfire's engine out and the Spitfire had to do an emergency landing. Here we got a lucky break though, as the BF-109 comes in to strafe the Spitfire on the runway, the AA takes him out. So despite my blunder, we managed to win this match. And well, that's it for this battle. It was nice to finally get the opportunity to bring you a Spitfire Mark I video, and I hope I can get you some footage of other planes with updated flight models as well, though that depends on what events will be available. Well, and this is it for this video. As always, I hope it was entertaining, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time. Oh, and Merry Christmas everyone!